What is the worst thing you have done because you got confused between items in different hands?
Silent scan.
Stuck a dog treat in my mouth and gave my dog my popsicle. She was thrilled. How'd the treat taste?
Silent scan.
Friend of mine once put the remote control in the oven and then wondered why he found himself in the living room holding his sausage. Remote control was destroyed. And it had previously spent several days in the back of a freezer because of a similar incident. I think this is one of my favorite stories on here now.
Silent scan.
My husband cleans the cat litter box and puts the gleanings in a tied-off plastic grocery bag. He also puts his lunch in a tied-off plastic grocery bag. When he goes to work he takes both bags outside, one to come with him, and one for the trash can. Mistakes have happened. Must have made for interesting conversations.
Silent scan.
I have put the house phone in the fridge and left the milk out more times than is healthy. The fridge is now the default first place I look if the phone is not on its cradle. My friend, I am genuinely worried. He needs a carbon monoxide detector.
Silent scan.
Phone in one hand, open Pepsi bottle in the other. Threw the wrong one on my bed. 911. Yes, I drank my phone, also sorry for the call quality. I hate it when I accidentally throw my phone on my bed.
Silent scan.
When I was 10, I was watching TV and had the remote in one hand and a cup of hot tea in the other. My dad came in and asked for the remote. Instead of tossing him the remote, I threw my cup of tea and it went all over him. The next morning his chest and legs were red. Now he knows not to challenge you for the remote. Great way to establish dominance.
Silent scan.
I was writing while drinking Coke. I ended up stabbing myself in the face with a pencil. Okay, but did you draw with your Coke? Probably made some pretty straight lines, TBF.
Silent scan.
It's becoming clear to me from this thread that humans holding a cup in one hand and literally anything in the other hand is a recipe for disaster. Autopilot is a hell of a drug. It doesn't happen often, but getting to witness another person's autopilot failure is one of the great small pleasures in life.
Silent scan.
This was my brother, but I was on the receiving end. We were at a country club for a wedding one evening, and there were various backgammon games set up. This happened so long ago I don't even remember how to play backgammon anymore. But it was my brother's turn and he was excited. So excited he slammed his glass of bourbon down on the game board and thrust a dice cup full of dice into his mouth. Totally worth being covered in watered-down liquor to witness such buffoonery.
Silent scan.
I had a cup of coffee and a little single-serve container of coffee cream. I opened the cream container, poured its contents into the trash, and then dropped the empty container into my coffee. Before coffee fugue is a real problem. The other day I tore open a packet of sweetener, almost poured it in the trash. Took milk out of fridge. Got coffee in the mug successfully. Went to put milk in fridge without pouring any, realized. Opened it and almost poured milk into the bottom shelves of the fridge.
Silent scan.
I was studying my notes which were in a notebook while also following lecture slides on my iPad. I tried zooming in my notes. Happened many more times throughout the sem. That's a classic. I've looked for the Ctrl+C on my notes so many times.
Silent scan.
Threw my keys into the recycle bin and attempted to start my truck with a crushed Monster can. Monster truck.
Silent scan.
I grabbed my banana instead of the conductor's baton on the music stand as I began conducting the orchestra and chorus during rehearsal. The musicians followed the banana very well as if it were intentional on my part. Some thought the curve aided in making the performance more expressive.
Silent scan.
I once picked up my toothbrush and then instead of picking up toothpaste, I picked up a tube of cortisone. Luckily caught myself. I also once picked up a razor instead of a toothbrush and just stared at it. Another time I poured water on the floor instead of in the sink. Just imagine someone standing facing away from the sink, angling their glass of water downwards, and just staring at the stream of water hiding the floor. Mom has done the same, but poured the glass of water into a dog cage my cat was chilling in. Cat didn't move but stared at her like, what the fuck?
Silent scan.
I dipped my chips in the water, had a little, I'm such a dumbest moment in my head, then proceeded to drink the salsa. When I was in college our wind ensemble went to China right after I graduated. They took us to an American-style restaurant one day, and this guy filled up an entire soda cup with soy sauce, because he thought it was soda.
Silent scan.
Disposing leftover bones into the trash and placing the plates into the sink. I grabbed the bones with my hand and tossed the plates into the trash bin and started washing the bones before realizing what I've done. Friend, you need more sleep.
Silent scan.
Rolled the blueberry and ate the dice. How did the blueberry do? Did it crit? Got a 4.
Silent scan.
Licked the lid of my yogurt, then threw the full yogurt pot in the bin with the spoon inside. The amount of times I've thrown the spoon in the bin and the empty yogurt cup in the sink before realizing wait you put your dishes in the sink.
Silent scan.
I used my bare hand to pick up my dog's poop. I know my neighbors saw me also. I just kind of played it off. How do you play that awful now? You don't.
Silent scan.
Not me but a friend of mine. I was at a party a couple of years ago, typical early adult stuff, so everyone is drunk by the end of the day. I myself can't drink, so I've got a front row seat to this glorious event. My friends were all in the same age group, so newly 21-year-olds drinking their fill. You can imagine what happens later. The bathrooms start filling up with a bunch of new drinkers blowing chunks. My cousin and her so happen to be at this party. She's about ready to throw up. Her boyfriend is already taking care of her brother, who had just thrown up. I should mention that the boyfriend is also drunk as fuck. He has a bowl in one hand, half full of the brother's vomit, and nothing in the other hand. My cousin is heaving, and all the bathrooms are locked. Trash cans and sink are free, but we were upstairs. No way are these three making it down there. So boyfriend looks at his hand in a drunken daze, then to the hand with the large bowl in it, then to his heaving so who's ready to throw up. I look at him, and I can practically see his brain trying to tell him what to do. No good. His motor skills are oct, so in attempt to help my cousin, he hurriedly moves his empty hand to below her mouth, and catches all of her vomit in his empty palm. I watch in horror as it spills onto the white rug of our friend's house. The boyfriend, as vomit flows through his empty hand, stares at his other hand with the bowl in it, and mouths a silent ugh, as he realizes slowly that his body did not perform the way he wanted it to. It's a story we still tell to this day.
Silent scan.
This isn't a mixed-up hands story, but it's in the same vein. So one day after delivering an order whilst on my former pizza delivery job, I was walking back to my car. As I walked, I took my car key between my fingers, and my brain told my hand, okay hand, the next thing you're going to do is insert that key into the ignition to start the car. And my hand was like, okay, word. I got this. Then as I sat down in the car, my brain said to me, PANHEAD09, you should probably take your phone out of your pocket and charge it before starting the car. The battery is getting low. And I said, that's a good idea brain. You should pass that along to my hand. And my brain said, I think I'll do just that. So my brain relayed this message, which had to pass through my arm. And as the message was about at my elbow, my arm said, charging the phone. Got it. I'll get this process going. And so my arm started moving to get my phone out of my pocket. But here's the thing. My arm started moving before the new message made it to my hand. So while my arm was all excited, going oh yay that phone is gonna get so charged, my hand was still in its own little world, thinking, insert the key and turn on the engine, insert the key, and turn on the engine anyway. That's how I ended up stabbing myself in the leg with my car key.
Silent scan.
Sat down by the ocean to smoke a joint with my buddy. He's about to spark up, so I hand him a lighter. Turns out it was dead, so I hand him a second lighter. He then proceeds to throw the good lighter into the ocean like a tit. I just sat there being like, I don't know what I am more mad about here, not being able to smoke or you being an ass by throwing plastic in the ocean. He was just staring out there not saying a word, knowing he ucked up twice. Was a pretty classic moment in retrospect.
Silent scan.
I had my tarantula on my hand and a couple Doritos in the other. I almost ate my tarantula. No eat Spidey. I bet you were both pretty glad you stopped yourself. Oh no. That was a close call.
Silent scan.
One bag full of dog poop, one bag full of dog treats. Shoved one in my pocket. Lesson learned, use a different bag. At least tie the bag.
Silent scan.
I was just going for a walk with one of my daughters the other day. She stops and picks a dandelion off someone's property. Not one of the yellow dandelions, but the one you blow on and it sends weed sperm all over the place. So there she is walking along with a lollipop in one hand and a dandelion in the other. Do the math. Weed sperm.
Silent scan.
Had a friend who had a cookie on one hand and a wrapper on the other. He was hiding in the bathroom so he can have all the cookie to himself. In panic, he ended up shoving the wrapper in his mouth and the cookie in the toilet. Why would you want to flush a wrapper? That's not good for your septic system. I'm just trying to figure out what horror movie this guy lives in where his secret bathroom cookie ends in such a panic.
Silent scan.
I had a phone book, 3.5 inches thick, for a class project in one hand, my hat in the other. School had just let out, and my friends distracted me. We talked. The phone book and the hat switched hands a couple of times because it's a heaviest brick of paper, y'all kids today don't know. I got distracted. The wind gusted a bit colder. I jammed my hat on my head, but it wasn't my hat. And that's how I once conquered myself with the Southwestern Bell Yellow Pages.
Silent scan.
My teacher in the 6th grade asked me to throw him an eraser. I threw a pair of scissors at him, he had to duck, and they narrowly missed his eye. I mean, I guess I could call that payback for the time he pretended to cut my hair off, and actually got some.
Silent scan.
I use a cup as an ashtray. Smoking a cigar. Drinking scotch. Relit the cigar with a match. Dropped match into scotch and for 0.2 seconds I heard this sizzling and expected an explosion lol and my heart skipped. Still drank the scotch. Extra smoky.
Silent scan.
I've got type 1 diabetes. Usually when I prep for a shot, I take the cap off with my teeth. Once I took it off with my hands, somehow forgot in the 0.1 seconds I did it, and continued to stab my tongue with a sharp needle. I've done that a few times. I give my dog insulin shots. I fear this.
Silent scan.
I'm cross-dominant. So, sort of ambidextrous but not really. Sometimes I forget which hand I do things with. Tried using a knife with my right hand the other day to slice some bread. Accidentally stabbed my left hand instead because I can't use knives very well in my right hand. I was certain it was my right hand. But once I switched to my left there was no problem. A part of me is suspicious that they switch sometimes.
Silent scan.